Welcome to Comics with Dan. Let's talk about DC All In. DC All In is a new publishing initiative from DC Comics, very similar to what Dawn of DC was about a year or two ago, and that's just finishing up with Absolute Power. So DC All In is essentially new jumping on points for the main line of titles, as well as an addition of an Absolute Comics universe, which I've made a video on that whenever there were just rumors from Bleeding Cool. So this was the this is official now that that DC has announced this, and so the Absolute Universe is essentially a rival to the Marvel Ultimate Universe, where we get alternate versions of these characters, and so we'll talk about that a little bit in this video. So first, let's talk about the new creative teams that we're going to be getting on these books. So Dan Waters and Dexter Soy are going to be taking over for Tom Taylor and Bruno Redondo on Nightwing, starting with Nightwing number 119. I haven't really read much from Dan Waters except maybe a backup on a Detective Comics issue or something like that, and which was actually kind of surprising because I've heard his name a lot, but haven't really read much from him. So usually when I hear his name, it's with positive feedback behind it. So this seems like it should be a pretty good, addition to the book. And then Dexter Soy, he was on Red Hood and the Outlaws Rebirth, which I really, really enjoyed. So I think that he'll do a really good job with Nightwing. The solicit makes it sound like this is going to be a little bit more grounded and sort of street level, which I'm really excited for. I think it definitely seems like it might be a return to like the Chuck Dixon era of Nightwing, which is something that I think is a long time coming. Mark Waid and Henry Clayton are on Action Comics, starting with issue number 1070. I haven't seen anything regarding the length of their run. I don't know if it's going to be a sort of continuous, ongoing thing, or if this is just another one of those 3-issue arcs that we've seen with Jason Aaron and Gail Simone. But both of these creators, obviously Mark Waid is one of the greats, and he's the authority on Superman. So funnily enough, I had asked Mark in the League of Comic Geeks AMA if he was going to be writing Action Comics, and he skipped over my question. And I think that it's because he knew he would be writing Action Comics but couldn't say anything. So that's probably the first and last prediction that I got right, considering all the different announcements on these Absolute books. But really excited for Mark Waid to write some more Superman. Loved Birthright. He just knows the character so well, and obviously Henry Clayton is a great artist in his own right. So I think the pair of them will be great on this book. Now this one I don't think is part of this line-wide DC All-In initiative, but I really wanted to mention it anyway because it kind of came out at the same time. But Mark Waid and Chris Samney are doing Batman and Robin Year One, which is really exciting because I love their Daredevil run, and Dick Grayson is my favorite character of all time. So getting to see a 12-issue series of Chris Samney drawing Batman and Robin, this old school Batman and Robin, where Dick Grayson's still Robin, and getting to kind of see the first year of the dynamic duo, I think is just going to be awesome. It's going to be so great. And obviously Mark Waid's a great writer, so I'm really beyond hyped for this one. Even if it's not part of DC All In, I'm all in on this. Tom Taylor and Mikkel Yannon are on Detective Comics, starting with issue number 1090. These two are replacing Ram V and all the stellar artists that he worked for on his long, sprawling epic of a Detective Comics run. I'm not excited to see Ram V go. I just am excited because I've been waiting to read his run in a collected edition rather than month by month. I just, after reading the first arc, I really felt that it would read better in a collected edition, so I'm kind of excited to get that and check that out. As for Tom Taylor, I'm excited to see what he's going to bring to the table. Obviously, everyone loved his Nightwing run. I personally had a handful of issues with it, but overall, I liked and enjoyed the run. And I think that the biggest problem is going to be that working with characters that have strict guidelines set for them hasn't been Tom Taylor's strong suit in the past. If you look at where his work really shines, it's things like Injustice or Dark Knights of Steel, where he has this giant sandbox that he gets to play with. So I do think that perhaps having a character where editorial will be kind of looking over his shoulder, as such as Batman, might prove a little more difficult. Now, that being said, the two things that he has going for him are that his book, Batman the Detective, is fantastic, right? I really loved it. It's a 6-issue miniseries. It's a really good book, and truthfully, a lot of my qualms about Taylor's writing are not present in that book at all. So, I know he can write Batman well, so there's definitely not a concern there. And so the second thing is that the pieces of Taylor's Nightwing run that I felt suffered were usually due to event interruptions. And apart from the line-wide Night Terrors event, Detective Comics has been allowed to run pretty much uninterrupted the entire time that Ram V was writing it. So if Taylor's allowed that same courtesy, then possibly we could see a little bit more cohesion and some better pacing from this than we got in the Nightwing story. Yannen's art has grown on me since I first experienced it in Tom King's Batman run. So I'm excited to see what he brings to the table here. I definitely like his work a lot more than I used to. So I think we should be in for a fun ride here with Detective Comics. So Chris Condon and Montos are taking over for Josh Williamson and Sean Isaac on Green Arrow. I haven't read anything from Condon or Montos, so I don't really know what to expect here. I have to say, though, that overall, I'm extremely excited that Green Arrow seems to be returning to legacy numbering because their first issue is going to be issue 350, which I'm always a fan of returning to legacy numbering. So that's a win on its own. So Superman's going to have Joshua Williamson, but also Dan Mora. Williamson was already on Superman, but Dan Mora. He's arguably the best comic artist in the world right now, and his Superman in World's Finest is awesome. And Williamson's doing a pretty good job on this Superman run. I've enjoyed what I've read so far, just volumes 1 and 2. But I really think that, this is going to be great. Anything with Dan Mora is going to be awesome and worth reading. So I'm interested to see if Tamara Bonvillain's going to color for Dan Mora on Superman or if he'll get a different colorist. So we'll see how that goes. But either way, Superman's going to be awesome. I'm definitely going to be pulling Superman. I'll be keeping World's Finest on my list, even though Dan Mora won't be drawing it anymore. Gleb Melnikoff is a great artist in his own right. He did a great job on Superman. It's kind of interesting how they're swapping here. So I definitely will keep both books on my pull list, and we'll see how it goes. Torun Gronbeck has announced that she will be doing Catwoman along with Fabiana Mascalo. I'm not familiar with Gronbeck's work, but I have heard that she has a really good Thor run and a really good Venom run. So she obviously has some really, critically acclaimed work, and fans seem to enjoy her work as well. So I'm excited to see kind of where she takes Catwoman. I think that's definitely a book that could use a little bit of new life breathed into it. As for Mascolo, I have not heard of her before, but she seems to have worked on some pretty reputable books, so it seems like this is a pretty well-deserved book for her to be on. Elliot Callan and Mindy Lee are going to be on Harley Quinn. So Mindy Lee absolutely rocked it on Gatchaman Ken Deathmatch. You can check out my review for that. A lot of it is just me praising Mindy's art. So this is definitely going to be exciting. I'm not a huge Harley Quinn fan so far as what the character is today, but I still think that it might be worth looking into, if not for Lee's art alone. I haven't heard of Elliot Collin before, but again, he seems to be pretty reputable, and so we'll see how the book goes. And during editing this, I realized I had left out Titans, which is going to be taken over by John Layman and Pete Woods. I know, obviously, Layman is the legendary creator of the book Chew, but which I have not read, but have been meaning to get around to. I know him from Batman Eternal, which I really enjoyed. As for Pete Woods, I recognize his name and some of the work he's done, but it's not something I've really experienced too much. But this does seem like a pretty powerful creative team for what I would consider to be a flagship book in this new DC universe. So we'll definitely be checking this one out. Additionally, there are a few creators that have announced that they are all in on this DC initiative, but it hasn't really been announced what they're going to be doing. One is Rom V. Bleeding Cool reports that it's going to be something very close to the center of the all-in initiative. So we'll have to kind of see what that's going to be. My prediction is that it's going to have something to do with Darkseid or with Swamp Thing. Wes Craig has said that he's going to be involved. Now, we know that Wes Craig is going to be doing work on the DC all-in one-shot that's sort of going to kick off this initiative, but there hasn't been anything that says whether or not he'll be doing any books after that. So we'll have to keep our eyes peeled and see if he's going to be doing any ongoing books or even a miniseries. Also, we've seen David Pepose say that he's all in. Not that he's writing a book, but he's just all in and excited for it, which I think is pretty typical Pepose for you. And Ryan Stegman said that he is also all in, and then said, "Just kidding, I draw X-Men," which it's really cool to see Stegman so excited that he's drawing X-Men. It seems like he's just like a kid with his dreams come true. So that is fun, and it's fun to see the other creators sort of support and poke fun at the new DC launch. Please let me know in the comments if you've seen other creators talk about their involvement. So Batman, Wonder Woman, Green Lantern, Birds of Prey, Poison Ivy, Shazam, Power Girl, and Flash, they're all keeping the same creative teams. And additionally, we have the Absolute line of books. Now, what's been announced so far is Absolute Batman, Absolute Wonder Woman, and Absolute Superman. Absolute Batman's going to be written by Scott Snyder and have art by Nick Dragotta. And Absolute Wonder Woman is going to be written by Kelly Thompson with art by Hayden Sherman. And Absolute Superman is going to be by Jason Aaron with art by Rafa Sandoval. An interesting note about the Absolute universe is that all of the solicits for these books talk about essentially what the main universe version of these characters would be like if they didn't have all of the things that make them that character. So, for example, the solicit for Wonder Woman is Absolute Wonder Woman is, "For Diana, there's no island paradise, no sisterhood to shape her, nor a mission of peace," which those are all the things that make Wonder Woman Wonder Woman. Batman. In this iteration, fans will be introduced to a version of the Dark Knight that doesn't have the money, mansion, or butler of his core line counterpart. Again, things that make Batman Batman. And finally, for Superman, this Superman has no family, no fortress of solitude, and no home. Again, key pieces of being a Superman. So I like the idea that they're going complete polar opposites for these characters. So I'm definitely interested to see where they go, and it should be interesting. I think that a drastic change is going to be good, but I really don't want a morally ambiguous Superman. I think that's kind of my biggest thing. We've done the evil Superman thing before. It's not really something that we need. And I think that there's so many other ways you can go about it. Even with the solicit that they have, I think that there's ways that they can go about it that make sense. Now, one thing that's been advertised is that at some point, somehow, these Absolute Universe counterparts are going to tie into the mainline continuity, which I think is really interesting and something that kind of sets it apart from the Ultimate Universe from Marvel. So I think that my biggest question is going to be, how are they going to tie in together? We know that it's going to have something to do with Darkseid, but apart from that, it's pretty vague. Next week is San Diego Comic-Con. I think we're going to get a ton of answers on what we're wondering about this Absolute Universe, about DC All In, and all that stuff. So exciting times ahead for DC right now. My wallet is off in the corner just sulking about how horrible things are going to be for it over the next couple months, trying to read all these books, but they all just look so good. All these creative teams are great. DC really has a lot of top talent on both their mainline books and these Absolute books as well. So I'm really excited to see where all this goes, how it all ties in together, and kind of what's going to shake out to be on the top, and what will kind of fall through. Make sure you like the video, make sure that you subscribe, check out my other videos here, and thank you for watching.